Good morning. In today's assignment, we're going to be talking about distributing polynomials and binomials. A polynomial is a term in algebra that has multiple terms where you're adding them together with different bases. So like here we're being asked to multiply x times x squared minus 5x plus 1. In order to do this, you have to use the distributive property, which we learned earlier in algebra. And some people like this box method down here, which I'm going to talk about. For some people, it helps them to visualize how to multiply polynomials. It's important to remember, however, these following rules. That if you have x squared, that literally means that it's x times x. You have two x's, but that's different than 2x. 2x means 2 times x. 2x means 2 times x, whereas x squared means x times x. So if you have x to the third power, for instance, it's x times x times x. That's the first rule. The other rule you have to remember is you can multiply coefficients. So the coefficients are the number in front of the variable. So if you had like a 5 here and a 2 here, it could become a 10x because 2 times 5 is 10. You can also add exponents of the same base. So if you have x to the first and x to the second, for instance, if there's no exponent, remember, if it's just x, it's x to the first right here. So if x to the first times x to the second gives you x to the third, because x times x gives you 3 x's, so you have x to the third power. So let's look at this example here. If we were to do 5 times x squared, you literally have 2 x's and a 5. So your final answer, when you write it as your final form, would be 5x squared. And then for this next one, you have negative 5x times 5. So you bring this 5 over here to be 5 and bring down the negative 5. 5 times negative 5 gives you negative 25 here. And then you just bring down the x. You have negative 25x. And then lastly, you take the 5 here and bring it over in this box and bring down the 1. 5 times 1 gives you 5. So your final answer would be 5x squared minus 25x plus 5. Let's try another example down here. This time we have x times x. We're going to distribute here. Then we're going to distribute here. Whoops. Then we're going to distribute here. And then we're going to distribute the x times the 3. So first let's start with the x times the x squared. X times x squared is the x is, if we bring this x over here, it's an x. And if we bring down the x squared, it's another x times x. So it's x times x times x. So if you have 3 x's all together, some people might write 3x because they think, oh, well, there's 3 x's, but this means 3 times x. We don't want that. What we want here is x times x times x, so it's x with an exponent of 3. On this next one, we have an x from over here. This x comes over here to the x, and we're going to multiply it by the 2 times x. So in this case, we have the 2. We have the 2. And then we have x times x. And x times x is x to the second power. And it's plus, so we're going to put a plus in between them. And then lastly, we have x times 3. So we bring down I'll bring down the 3 first, and then we bring over the x. It's 3 times x, and with that, when we do 3 times x, we can just write it as 3x, because this, if you put a 3 next to an x, that means multiply, so it's 3x. So that would be your final answer for this problem when you simplify it. Let's try 2 more together, and then you could try the rest on your own. This worksheet is, you can find it in the description below. So we're going to be multiplying 2, and then on the top, we're going to be multiplying 2x squared. So we did that one. And then there's a negative in front of this 4x, so it's going to be negative 4x. And then we have a negative 3, so we're going to bring down this negative 3. So first we multiply 2 times the 2, and then we bring down the x squared. So what I did here was I brought over this 2 here, and brought down this 2 here, and brought down the x squared here. On the next one, we have 2 times negative 4. We have 2 times negative 4. Because we bring over the 2, bring down the negative 4, and bring down the x. Lastly, we have the 2 over here, and then we're going to multiply that by the negative 3. So 2 times 2 is 4, so you have 4, and bring down the x squared. So all we did was we brought down the 2 times 2 and brought down the x squared here. And then 2 times negative 4, a negative times a positive. If you come over here on the calculator and we do 2 parentheses negative 4 close parentheses, it tells you right here, if you look at the answer, 2 times negative 4 gives you negative 8. So we're going to do negative 8x. And if you need this calculator, this Desmos calculator, there's a link in the description to a link to this calculator. Okay. And then 2 times negative 3. Again, if we take a positive, whoops, let me start a new one. A positive times a negative 3. You can see right here the answer they give you is negative 6. So we're going to do negative 6. So our final answer, if you want to write it just separately from everything, is 4x squared minus 8x minus 6. This next one we have 5x to the 4th and 3x to the 3rd. We have negative 1x and we have negative 3. First we multiply the 5 times the 3. I'm going to write this one a little bit smaller. And then we have x to the 4th times x to the 3rd. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then over here we have negative 5 times negative 1. And then we also have x to the 4th times x. Bring over the x to the 4th, and we bring down the x. On the last one we have 5 times negative 3. And then we also bring over the x to the 4th. So 5 times 3, we do that on the calculator over here. Hit return to start a new line, and we're going to do 5 times 3, and it gives us 15. So we're going to put 15. And whenever you have exponents of the same base, so these are both just x, you can add the exponents if there's no parentheses. If there's no parentheses involved, you can just do 4 plus 3, which gives us 7, so it'll be x to the 7th. And then over here, we've got 5 times negative 1, which is negative 5. And then we have x to the 4th times x. And if there's no exponent on this one, it's just to the first power, remember? So it's 4 plus 1, so x to the 5th. Over here we have 5 times negative 3. If you forget what a negative times a positive, you can always just type it on the calculator. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15x to the 4th. So when we write this whole thing, it'll be 15 x to the 7th minus 5 times x to the 5th minus 15 x to the 4th. So go ahead and try and do the rest of these problems on your own, and then go ahead and take the quiz. There's a link in the description below.